Okay, so last night I finally got a look at the brand new Sherlock Holmes sequel trailer, Sherlock Holmes: A Game of Shadows. And my initial reaction thus far is this looks like it's going to be a good film. I really enjoyed the first one. It's probably my favorite Guy Ritchie film, and it's actually one of my top 10 favorite films. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be at first. I first saw it in theaters. I thought it was a fun movie. But after I picked up the DVD, it has become one of those movies that I'm always in the mood to see and have watched multiple times. And really, that's what my favorite movies are. And a couple months ago, I finally realized, you know what, this film actually is one of my favorite films. I love pretty much everything in it. So I am, of course, thrilled to see a sequel. It looks like it's keeping the same pace and tempo as the first one. Looks like the excellent chemistry between Jude Law and Robert Downey Jr. is going to be maintained. And it also looks like they have some great cast continuity. We didn't see a whole lot, but I do know Rachel McAdams is confirmed to be returning. Who else? Marsan is also supposed to be returning as Inspector Lestrade. So, looks like we have some excellent cast continuity, writing continuity, especially most importantly, Guy Ritchie's returning, because I think that was most important. Was in addition to, of course, obviously the big part Robert Downey and Jude Law had in that film. I think the most important element here is Guy Ritchie. But this one certainly looks like it's turning up the action. You certainly see more explosions. There obviously seems to be more of a military theme. I'm not sure if it's a theme, but there's a military element in the plot this time. So it certainly looks like there's high stakes with whatever Professor Moriarty is doing, which you kind of have to do considering the first one was basically talking about, you know, overthrowing the government of Britain and creating a new, grander empire. Although we're not quite sure as a mystery. I mean, the last one, even before the trailers made it clear exactly, kind of, we have this Lord Blackwood fellow who's going around and doing mystical murders, perhaps. So we had some idea that there was this element of black magic, perhaps. This we're not so sure, but we do know Moriarty's in there, and we see Moriarty. Unfortunately, well, I'm mixed on this. Moriarty is played by Jared Harris, who, from his filmography, the film I most remember him from is he was Dr. Ashford in Resident Evil Apocalypse. Yes, he's done a ton of other work, but for my personal recollection, that's the role I most remember him from. At least it's not a wheelchair this time. So he's playing. Originally, though, it was supposed to be Brad Pitt. In fact, if you've seen in the first film those few scenes where we don't see his Moriarty's face or anything, that's Brad Pitt doing the voice. Brad Pitt apparently wanted to come. I'm not sure why he didn't get the role for this one. I certainly think his physical presence. I think it would have been. Now, I'm not knocking on Jared Harris here because I think I have a feeling once I see the film, he's going to fit it. He does look very evil and sinister, and he's kind of pulled off the maybe mad scientist before in Resident Evil. Kind of. I know a lot of people are like, did you just say something good about Resident Evil Apocalypse? Even my own review wasn't that too, shining an example of it, but hey. Yeah. But I don't know. I think I was just very set on having Brad Pitt come back. He looks good, though. He does look like he's very evil. We'll see how he pulls off the evil genius element on this. Obviously, it's a trailer. You don't get too much of examples of what his plot is. But I will try to shoot down a few things that I think people are going to be missing up. Apparently, this film is taking a little bit more of an international approach, dare I say. You saw them kind of fighting in the woods, and they're being bombarded, and they're fighting on the soldiers. Those, I don't believe, are British soldiers, because apparently a large chunk of this film is going to take place in Switzerland, which is making me think maybe there's going to be a plot element with the old, the Swiss banks. Moriarty is involved with that somehow, but who knows? But So those are apparently Swiss soldiers, mainly because yeah, they're wearing blue, which is what the uniforms of the Swiss was at that time. They wore blue uniforms, but we obviously also see British soldiers because I don't think there was any other European parties, maybe Denmark, who uh, who wore red uniforms. Mm. But we see those elements. I'm not, and again, at least I don't think this is taking place during any time of war. I'm trying to think back to late 1800s, which is when this takes place. I forget the exact year these films take place in, but I think it's post Crimean War. Therefore, the only wars I can really think of that even would take place in Europe, unless they're really throwing that out, would be the Franco-Prussian War. Uh, Maybe a couple of the related wars to the unification of Germany, but that's really it I can think of in Europe. So I don't think this is going to be a war film. I think some people are thus far that I've seen on online there that they think this is the start of World War One. It's a little too soon for that. So that's not the case, and I have a feeling that this is just going to involve. There's probably be some sort of coup thing involved with Moriarty or perhaps manipulating a coming. He's trying to create a war. Who knows? Maybe those actually aren't Swiss soldiers, and they're soldiers that Moriarty has hired, and there is kind of his own personal army that he's using to try to, I don't know, create a world war situation. Which is, if that's the case, it could be something that they did from actually, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen kind of had that as their plot. But we'll see. I have a feeling it could be more of a theft operation. Yeah, who knows? And I'm kind of rambling on. I do like that they had in the trailer that little bit. When I said humor, the first film for an action film had a lot of humor, very well placed humor, very well paced humor. And it looks like they have that. And there is a callback to the first film, and get that out of my face. It's not in your face, it's in my hand. Get what's in your hand out of my face. That whole routine. It's nice to see they switch that up with its Holmes and Jude Law's, Holmes and Watson have now switched up what they were doing in the first film. I hope, though, it's not all just, let's make a joke because it was in the first film. I mean, that is one thing. I do hate when films kind of do that. When they just start running and just basing everything off of stuff that was in previous films. And remember that scene from the other movie? Yeah, bring me some new stuff like that, new materials. It's kind of why I can't stand most Aliens fan films, because they basically just all create that 10-minute scene when the Marines land on the planet and inspect the colony, line for line almost. I think that's a topic for another video, though. But yeah, I'm really excited on this film. I have a lot of hope for this. This is certainly one of my favorite franchises. I'm happy Guy Ritchie has got a big Hollywood franchise. I'd be very curious what kind of little nuances he's going to pull out of the original story. I'm certainly not, one thing though. I'm certainly not too objectionable about people. Some people have claimed, "Oh, this has become a commercialization of Sherlock Holmes." Sherlock Holmes is probably the first case of a franchise becoming really commercialized from the author's potential. I mean, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle killed off Holmes, and the reason he was brought back was because the fans wanted it. So Sherlock Holmes series is kind of those, almost like, really it's the predecessor of what would become Hollywood franchises, and the kind of things that take place in Hollywood franchise. A lot of that story, especially the latter stories, were kind of thought up of and written with fan intent. So that's why some people had complained that they turned Sherlock Holmes into an action film, and really large elements of that film, the mystique of Sherlock Holmes is not necessarily what the stories were, or what even was going on in the background of when they were being written. Which is why I'm not too offended. I mean, I've read some Sherlock Holmes tales before, but I have not read most of them. I probably should. Maybe before I see the theater, I'll do a little reading spree and brush up on my Sherlock Holmes history. But I'm hoping hopefully we'll see a longer trailer later on. Hopefully maybe we'll get a little bit more details in Comic-Con coming up. I forget offhand if they're actually due to be there, whether they're going to have a panel or not. Though I'm sure I know Robert Downey's probably going to be there at least for the Tony Stark bit, and maybe we'll get some more information as somebody asks him about Sherlock Holmes. Assuming they're not all obsessed with the Avengers and somebody remembers he does do one or two other films a year. Signing off for now.